Hi, I'm Joe Finsternis, and today I'll be talking to you about a film called Pitch Black. Now, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, what it's about is there's this ship carrying a large group of people across the galaxy, most of whom are just looking for another place to live. Like, for example, there's a religious guy with 3 kids, there's a kid running away from home, there's an antique stealer. Most importantly, there's an escaped convict on the ship named Riddick who is being taken back to prison, but as the ship is going to wherever it needs to go, it ends up being hit with something and crash landing on this mysterious planet. And of course, Riddick escapes his shackles soon afterwards, but he's the least of these people's worries, as there are also carnivorous monsters living underneath the surface who want to kill them. Now, this film came recommended to me a while back. I was in this online forum, being the social butterfly that I am, and we were talking about certain actors and filmmakers whose movies we would never watch. Like, I said that if it was one of Steven Seagal's newer movies, or if Yuli Lommel was the director, especially after I watched his Zodiac Killer movie, then I probably wasn't going to watch it. And I also mentioned Vin Diesel. I said that if he was in the starring role, then I probably wasn't going to watch it, because by then I'd watched Triple X and The Chronicles of Riddick, and I really wasn't impressed with either of them. But a couple of people told me about this film, Pitch Black, and recommended it highly. You know, one of them said that it was one of her all-time favorite sci-fi films, and there's this guy who knew that I was a big fan of the horror genre. He said that works great as a horror film. So, you know, that caught my attention, and I decided to take their word on it. This was several months ago, and I didn't get around to watching the film until yesterday. But as for Vin Diesel, you know, in case, once again, you haven't seen the film yet, he's the guy who plays Riddick, and I love how they set up his character in the film, even though it's been established by now that he's sort of this badass anti-hero. You're not exactly sure of what his motives are at the beginning. You know, they kind of play around with it for a while, like, is he basically good, or is he just some bloodthirsty psychopath? And as for the rest of the characters, you know, some of them are more interesting than others for sure. Like, the kid who ran away from home is an admirer of Riddick and kind of wants to be him. There were others that didn't seem to have as much personality in the film, and you didn't get as much time to know them, but I guess they sort of filled it out and got the job done. One thing that I found kind of questionable, though, is there wasn't much of a reaction at first when people started dying. Like, this one character gets ripped apart by the monsters, and when they're found by someone else who was actually with them, you see their body and then it goes to the next scene. There's no emotional reaction to it. They do get more of that, you know, during the second half of the film. There are more tears shed for people, even for this one guy who turns out to be a complete douchebag, but I don't know. That was one thing I didn't really care for, was that there wasn't quite enough human emotion for me. Call me picky, but whatever. Don't get me wrong, though. It was a really cool film overall, and it does work as a horror movie as well, you know. Like when this woman is going into the underground caverns, sort of exploring, behind her it almost looks like the wall is coming to life as this creature wakes up and sort of crawls that way. And it's one of those horror movie moments where you're sort of thinking to yourself, look behind you, or get the fuck out of there, you know. Another thing that I didn't really like initially was that there are a lot of shots in the movie that just go really blurry, you know? Not even when things are moving fast, but certain shots just go out of focus for no apparent reason, and that kind of got on my nerves, but after a while I got used to it. But overall, did I like the movie? Yeah. And if the people who recommended it out there are watching this right now, I'd like to say thank you. This is definitely a welcome addition to my collection. So if you haven't seen it yet, and you're a fan of sci-fi horror movies, even if you're not a fan of Vin Diesel like me, you should still check this out because it's very entertaining, it's suspenseful, it's fun, and it's just a cool movie. Anyway, that's it for my review. I hope you all have a good day.